exact when you went back to look at the film? What was it they were doing so early on that was confusing Trevor and you, I guess, in some of the blitzes?
You know, the biggest thing is when you're preparing your playing tendencies, and obviously you got a lot of film to try to evaluate and make sure you got a good understanding. But that first, 3rd and 4 down there in the red zone, he brought a cat blitz or a corner blitz, something that you didn't see, on film at all in that situation. That was more of a long yardage or a 2-minute situation. So I thought he did a good job of calling that there. And then on some of his third down stuff, he was showing blitz, and then he was dropping out and playing, almost it's kind of a cover 3, but it's not truly a cover 3 because he had different guys doing different things. So it was a little bit of cat and mouse early on, and then once we got dialed in, and so when you got a young quarterback, you try not to get him to see too much, but you got to give him answers. So it took us a little while just to find the right concepts to get to give us a chance on third down.
It looked like it. Sometimes they were taking the safety to one side of the field and right at the snap, just running them all the way over.
Yeah, that was something that we saw, and that there we were prepared for it, and we had some answers, and so you saw us on third down get that a couple times. But what he had shown prior to that was more of a different personnel grouping. He was doing that. He did that to NC State a lot with the heavier personnel, 2 tight ends in the game. So we had a plan for it, and that didn't give us as much problems. There's one time, and the tough thing about it is because of the way they configure the front. You got to make some decisions in protection. And so the one down there in the again back in the red zone, we had a good call. We just need a little bit more time. And again, I think Trevor's going to learn from that. He did a really good job on the play to Renfro for the big play where he slid the protection. But he's going to learn from that one. If he just would have slid his protection again, he would have had a little more time. And DK was coming wide open for a touchdown. So a lot of positive, but still some great opportunities to grow.
Trevor stood short of the first down on that one play. He's done that a couple times this season. Is that one of the key things he needs to work on?
He'll just continue to learn and get better. And the great thing about Trevor is and just talking to Coach Streeter, a lot of times before Coach Streeter can even correct him, he said, "Man, I know I should have done this." So you know that he's a very headsy guy. He's going to learn. Another learning experience is when he had the screen to Travis that got batted. Don't catch it, just bat it down. But again, he's got to play through that stuff. But he's gonna take ownership of it. And I'd say it's safe to say that we probably won't see those mistakes again.
Tony, these are
You see a little bit of it, each game. They try to do something different. They started the game different than I anticipated. They played a lot of soft coverage, a lot of zone stuff on early downs. You saw they started the game with a pressure, and it looks like everybody's. I've seen more and more this year people going back to what people they have done against us, and so it looked like their plan was to, instead of letting us get in the ball in the perimeter, they were going to play their ends wide, bring interior pressure, and force us to run the ball inside. And then when we had our zone reads, they were going to force us to the quarterback to pull it. And so obviously we had to play a little cat and mouse in the run game, but because of that, it made them a little susceptible to the pass. And so really, really proud of our guys having the mentality of do whatever it takes to win the game. But you're seeing a little bit more of guys trying to do different things, and I think with Trevor's ability, I think the ability for us to win one-on-one in man coverage and throw the ball down the field, it scared some people away from giving us that. And you saw the plays that we were able to make down the field. If you give us one-on-ones, Trevor has the ability to put the ball where it needs to be. And, we got guys that are going up and making plays. So I think going forward, everyone's going to try and do something a little bit different and just going to take us a little bit of time. And, hats off to the staff. It's not just myself. It's everybody involved, communicating, trying to make sure we're all on the same page so we can get to the best adjustments in game.
Tony, there are a lot of veterans on this team. Does the staff let the older guys tell the younger guys, hey, this was fun last week, we got a division title, but there's still a lot more to do?
Yeah, I think it's more these guys have big picture goals in mind, and they understand that in order to accomplish the big picture goal, you just got to take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time. And the mentality for us is every game is the biggest game within the season, and obviously the fun is in the winning. So they know that when you have fun when you win, but they know what it takes to win. So I think the young guys do a great job of coming in the door very, very humble. You talk about some of the high profile guys that come in the door and they just kind of assimilate into the culture, and that's what breeds the success.
Tony, what has Mitch Hyatt and other seniors meant to you guys as a staff and all they've accomplished, and not just that, but the leadership that's really
No question. I mean, you talk about these guys, 50 wins, as a group. They got a chance to not just break ACC records, but they got a chance to break national records for wins in a career. And, I start with Adam Choice, and he may not get the publicity of Taven and Travis and Lin J, but I tell you what, man, he's my rock. And like I said with Zach Brooks when he came through, some of those guys that are a little bit under the radar from the media perspective are really the guys that drive the culture. I mean, he's very, very unselfish. He's willing to do whatever it takes. He doesn't mind, letting somebody else shine as long as the team wins. And I think that's the mentality that you have with Mitch. And for me personally, having a chance to recruit Mitch, and one of the things, and I don't sell much in recruiting, but I told him, I said, look, man, if you'll come to Clemson, we'll have a chance to win a national championship if we can get you. Because I knew if he came, then other guys were going to want to come play on that offensive line. And we kid with each other every once in a while. It's like, man, it really came true. And I think just his consistency and his demeanor, what he's meant, and Deshaun and Mike and all the guys that have come through. But really, I think the transition has been when we became more solidified up front to give us a chance to compete with the teams we needed to compete with down the stretch in the postseason. So him and all the other guys, Miley Richards, a guy that has been very, very unselfish, one of the best leaders that we had. Just to watch Falcinelli's, transformation from a guy that started as a potential gray shirt to now he's a all ACC performer. And I don't want to miss anybody, but we just got so many guys, and the defensive guys and what they've meant to us. I mean, it's just a great group of young men, and I think that Coach Sweeney, when he started the program, he said that you're going to build the culture through recruiting and graduation, and that is held true. It's because you're graduating guys, it redefines the culture, and then each year when you recruit these guys, they're able to just come in and see people like Mitch Hyatt, and they may have heard about him on TV, but then they come in and say, hey, man, this is just a regular guy that goes to work every single day. Maybe I need to just kind of fall in line and do what he does.
Coach, you started using that jumbo package, I think 2 years ago with Christian and Dexter blocking, but of course this year you used it 3 different ways with the I formation successfully. At what point did it occur to you we can be creative with this and really be successful?
It goes back to understanding how people are going to attack it, and obviously everything that you do, not just the fridge package, and I can't take credit for that. That's Coach Sweeney's kind of idea, and he comes to me each week and says, hey, here's some thoughts to me, and then we go back and we look as a staff and say, okay, these are the ones that realistically have a shot based off of what we're anticipating we're going to see. But with any package that you have, you want to kind of keep it honest. So the same thing, if we're going to run the inside zone, we're going to have complementary plays off of it so that you just can't hone in on the inside zone. You got to make sure you defend the perimeter, the play actions, and all the things that come off of it. So that's what we do each week with it. And then you got those 2 guys that, I mean, they're just special. They come over, they got a smile on their face. They're like, they're all asking for the ball. Dexter wants his touches, Christian wants his touches, but more than anything, they want to do whatever it takes for us to be successful, and they bring a lot of energy. And I think the guys up front, the offensive linemen, they appreciate it because it's a big boy getting an opportunity to touch the ball. Yeah, really proud of his performance and his demeanor. Obviously, there's some things that he'll learn to clean up just from a technical standpoint, but you saw that the moment wasn't too big for him. And obviously, he's played a lot of snaps, but you still, when you get into that championship, caliber game, when you got all the different distractions, you don't know how a young guy's going to perform. And he got in there, and you didn't see much of a drop-off. And so that's just an encouragement to him to continue to work, week in and week out. And it's just a testament to all those guys that you got to be ready. Next man up. Mitch has been a staple. We kind of get very, very comfortable because Mitch has played just about every snap that he's been here, but now he's out and Jackson's got to go in. I thought he did a good job, handled it well.
Is there any update on Mitch?
Today he said he's feeling better. Obviously it's still early in the week. Those guys had yesterday off. Now they're getting in with the training room, but got good reports. Obviously we'll just see how it goes day to day. And I think, a lot of people didn't know much about him. He's coming from a small school down there in Georgia. A lot of even the in-state schools really didn't recruit him as a running back. But I saw a lot of Andre Ellington. And I think if you go back and you watch the long run that he had versus Louisville, he made a very Ellington-esque cut. That not a lot of guys can do. So I think he's a very, very natural runner. He's got great explosion, very good top-end speed. He's tougher than you would anticipate for a guy that's coming out at 190 pounds. So, I mean, he's got the makings to be special. The biggest thing for him is, and especially like in that game this past week when they're doing a lot of different things. They're bringing corner blitzes, and they're bringing 2 guys from the field. They're rolling trap coverage. That's a lot for a young guy who really hasn't played to see. But, he's embraced it. He's learning. And I think what's helped him is Travis went to him and said, hey, man, don't get frustrated. This is how it was for me. This is kind of how I made my name. So whatever reps you get, man, you eat them up, and then make sure you're prepared. And one thing too is for us is trying to find ways to get him in there, because I think he does have a different gear. I think that's what separated Travis last year is, man, his explosion. So when Travis came into the game, you had fresh legs, and man, he was moving at a faster speed than everybody on the field. And I think that's kind of what Lin J gives us right now.
Is he getting closer to where first quarter, second quarter, you guys are trusting him?
Yeah, he is. He is. I think the biggest thing with this past week was just when they started doing all those variations, and it wasn't just what they did; it's what they showed us on tape. I think their defensive coordinator does a great job. It reminds me a lot of when Don was up there. Don Brown, and he has a lot of exotics, a lot of personnel packages. I mean, he understands how you're setting your protections, and so he's got ways to try and bait you into setting a protection and then bringing pressure the other way. And for us to be able to do what we do, that ownership lies on the quarterback and the backs, and then you got a young quarterback in there, and so you need some older backs in there that can at least understand, and if they see a tip, they can communicate to the quarterback, and that's tough for a young back, just not having those reps in practice or in the game.
You haven't seen them in a while, but what do you know about the defense?
Just watching them, they play hard. They let them get lined up and they let them go play. And a lot of those kids, I remember a lot of them, especially those Georgia kids when I was recruiting Gwinnett County. And I thought that Dylan Singleton was one of the best players that I saw in high school coming out. Was a little bit under recruited, I guess, from a size standpoint, but ended up at Duke. And man, he was playing at a high level, so I know that's a tough loss for them. And I remember McDuffie from Shiloh, and you got the safety from Grayson, and Drew Jordan from North Gwinnett. So I'm familiar with all those guys. And one thing I know about them just from my experience when recruiting, they're high character kids. I mean, they're tough. They're going to play hard. They know what they're doing, and they just let them go play. And then they challenge you too. They're going to put those guys in man coverage, and they're going to try and stop the run with a 7-man box and see can you throw it down the field and make some plays.
They did a good job containing Georgia Tech's running game. What do you think they did so well?
Georgia